Take a look at the money in your wallet. Really look at it. Pick up a bill. Feel the texture of the cotton and linen blend. Look at the intricate ink, the serial numbers, the symbols of authority. It feels permanent, doesn't it? It feels real. It is the thing you wake up for every morning, the thing you trade your life's hours to acquire, the thing nations go to war over. But strictly speaking, what you are holding is nothing more than paper and ink. It has no value. You cannot eat it. You cannot build a shelter with it. If you were stranded on a deserted island with a suitcase full of these bills, you would be the poorest person on earth. Its value exists in only one place: our collective imagination. Money is not a physical truth. Money is a belief system. And history tells us a terrifying truth about belief. It is finite. It runs out. The French philosopher Voltaire once famously said, "Paper money eventually returns to its intrinsic value." Zero, he wasn't guessing. He was observing a pattern that has destroyed empires for 2,000 years. From the clipped coins of ancient Rome, to the wheelbarrows of the Weimar Republic, to the trillion-dollar notes of Zimbabwe, the lifespan of a fiat currency is almost always the same. It is roughly 27 years. United States dollar has defied the odds. It has held the world together for over 50 years. But the math is finally catching up. We are currently living through an economic experiment that has a 100% failure rate in history. And if you are sitting there thinking, well, this time is different, you haven't been paying attention to the cracks forming in the foundation. There is a pattern in history that has destroyed every empire right now. We are repeating it. To understand why your money is slowly dying, we first have to understand what it actually is. For most of human history, money was a commodity. It was gold, silver, salt, or grain. It had value because it was scarce and it required legitimate effort to produce. You couldn't just wish more gold into existence. You had to mine it. But today, we use what economists call fiat currency. The word comes from Latin, meaning "let it be done." It is money by decree. It has value simply because the government says it does, and because we have faith the government will accept it for taxes. But there is a fatal flaw in the fiat system. A flaw so seductive that almost no ruler in history has ever been able to resist it. When a government wants to spend more money than it has on wars, on welfare, on monuments, or on bailouts, it faces two very hard choices. Choice 1: raise taxes. This is honest, but it makes the population angry and loses elections. Choice 2: borrow money. This creates debt that eventually has to be paid back. But with fiat money, there is a third door. A magic door. They can simply print the difference. It feels like a free lunch. It feels like magic. But as we are about to see, inflation isn't an accident. It isn't a mistake made by incompetent policymakers. Inflation is a feature. It is the engine of the system designed to transfer wealth from you to the state without you ever noticing. And eventually, that engine always explodes. Let's rewind the clock. Long before the printing press, the Roman Empire discovered the prototype of this trap. The currency of the realm was the denarius, a coin made of 95% pure silver. It was the dollar of the ancient world, accepted everywhere from Britain to Egypt. But Rome had a problem. It was expanding too fast. The army needed to be paid to hold the borders. The massive public works needed funding to keep the people happy. The emperors didn't want to raise taxes on the wealthy elite. So, Emperor Nero had an idea. He gathered the silver coins, melted them down, and mixed in cheap metals like copper. Suddenly, he could make more coins with the same amount of silver. It seemed brilliant. The soldiers got paid. The buildings got built. But subsequent emperors got addicted to the trick. By the time of Marcus Aurelius, the silver content was down to 75%. By the time of Emperor Gallienus, it was barely 5%. The coins were no longer silver. They were bronze washed in a thin layer of silver that rubbed off in your hand. The people weren't stupid. Merchants realized their money was junk. They demanded more coins for the same wheat. Prices skyrocketed. The economy collapsed. Rome didn't just fall because of barbarians at the gates. It fell because it destroyed the trust in its own money from the inside out. Fast forward to the 20th century, and the technology had changed, but the psychology hadn't. In 1923, the Weimar Republic in Germany faced massive war debts they couldn't pay. So, they turned on the industrial printing presses. At first, it felt like an economic boom. Wages went up. The stock market soared. Everyone felt like a millionaire. But it was a money illusion. The currency began to slide, then tumble, then freefall. In 1922, a loaf of bread cost 160 marks. By late 1923, that same loaf of bread cost 200 billion marks. There are historical accounts of people ordering a cup of coffee for 50 marks, and by the time they finish drinking it, and if you think this is just ancient history, or something that only happens in lost wars. Look at Zimbabwe in 2008. Look at Venezuela in 2018. Look at Lebanon in 2021. The dates change. The names of the leaders change, but the story remains exactly the same. When you study these collapses, a clear, terrifying pattern emerges. It happens in 5 distinct stages, and once you see them, you cannot unsee them. Stage 1 is the promise. The currency is sound. It is usually backed by something real, like gold or a robust economy. Trust is high, and the nation is prosperous. Stage 2 is the overreach. The nation faces a crisis or simply gets ambitious. Maybe it's a war, a pandemic, or a desire for a great society. The government begins to spend far beyond its means. Deficits pile up, but the politicians ignore them, kicking the can down the road. Stage 3 is the easy fix. This is the turning point. Politicians realize they can delay the pain by printing money today, we call it quantitative easing or yield curve control. They assure the public it's temporary. The markets boom. Asset prices rise. Everyone feels rich, but the foundation is rotting. Stage 4 is the awakening. Inflation arrives. At first, the authorities deny it. They call it transitory. Then they blame supply chains. Then they blame corporate greed or foreign adversaries. But the public starts to realize the money is broken. People rush to exchange paper for hard assets, land, gold, commodities. Stage 5 is the event horizon. The currency enters a death spiral. To keep the government running, they must print more money. But printing more kills the value faster. They cannot stop, but they cannot continue. This ends in a total reset. The currency goes to zero, and a new system is born from the ashes. So, where are we today? Let's look at the United States dollar. On August 15, 1971, President Richard Nixon temporarily suspended the convertibility of the U.S. dollar into gold. That temporary measure created the modern financial world. For the first time in history, the entire globe began operating on a fiat standard anchored by the U.S. dollar. Since that day, the dollar has lost over 87% of its purchasing power. But the terrifying part is the acceleration. In just the years 2020 and 2021, the United States printed nearly 40% of all the dollars that had ever existed in the nation's history. We called it stimulus. Rome called it coin clipping. It is the same mechanism. Today, the U.S. national debt is over $34 trillion. The graph looks like a hockey stick going straight up. The interest payments alone on that debt are now higher than the entire U.S. defense budget. Think about that for a second. The government is borrowing money just to pay the interest on the money it already borrowed. This is the definition of a debt spiral. Mathematically, there is no way to pay this back through taxation. It is impossible. The only option left is to print the difference, to devalue the currency until the debt becomes manageable, essentially paying back the debt with money that is worth pennies on the dollar. We are currently sitting deep in stage 3, drifting dangerously into stage 4. The easy fix has become a permanent addiction. So, how does the dollar die? It likely won't be people pushing wheelbarrows of cash down Fifth Avenue. Not yet. In the digital age, the collapse is more subtle. It's a silent robbery. It looks like housing prices doubling every 10 years, making homeownership a fantasy for the young. It looks like the grocery bill creeping up month after month, while politicians tell you the economy is stronger than ever. It looks like the middle class vanishing, leaving only two groups: the ultra-rich who own assets and the poor who hold paper. The endgame is likely a new dollar, perhaps a central bank digital currency (CBDC). A reset of the system where the old debts are wiped away or inflated away, and a new, more controlled currency takes its place. But in that transition, wealth is not destroyed, it is transferred. It transfers from those who hold currency to those who hold value, from the saver to the borrower, from the citizen to the state. When empires fall, it is never slow, it is sudden. It is brutal, and it is final. History is a wheel. It keeps turning. No fiat currency has ever survived forever. The average lifespan is 27 years. The US dollar in its current fiat form is 53 years old. We are living on borrowed time. But the death of paper money isn't a disaster for everyone. It's only a disaster for those who believe the paper is real. For those who understand the game, it's a signal. A signal to move from faith to fact, to own things that cannot be printed, to understand that while governments can print currency, they cannot print value. The economy is rewinding to a hard truth. Value cannot be faked forever. If you want to survive the coming reset, you need to see the pattern before the rest of the world does. Don't be the person holding the bag when the music stops. Be the one who read the history books. I'm Economy Rewind. If you want to understand the economic storms coming our way and how to navigate them, make sure you're subscribed. We'll see you in the next Rewound.